Long time ago, in a small village called Agbaduma, there lived a poor farmer named Ile. Ile stays in a small hut with his old mother and pregnant wife, whom he struggled very hard to take care of. One morning, when Ile was on his farm cultivating, he raised his head and saw someone coming towards his direction. And when the person was close enough, Ile realized it was one of the foreigners who came to their village to make research. So Ile wondered what the foreign man was doing in his farm that early. When the man got to where Ile was, they greeted each other, and the man said to Ile, "I will pay you a huge sum of money and make you rich in a year if you agree to come work for me in my country." And Ile, who has lived in poverty all his life and has dreams of becoming rich and giving his old mother and pregnant wife a comfortable life, sees an opportunity of becoming rich and did not waste time to think before accepting the foreign man's offer. Ile immediately agreed and asked the foreign man to give him some time to go home and talk to his wife and mother about it. That evening, after dinner, Ile called his wife and mother and told them about his meeting with the foreign man, and that he has agreed to go with the foreign man to his country. Though his wife and mother were not so happy about it, but they agreed with him to go with the foreign man to his country because Ile has already made up his mind. And the next day, Ile got ready and left with the foreign man to his country, leaving behind his wife, his old mother, and his farm in search of a better life. And days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and his wife gave birth to a bouncing baby girl, and she named her Leah. And months turned into a year, and 1 year turned into 12 years, and there was no sign of Ile. Ile did not come back, and his wife and mother are worried about him, wondering what has happened to him, if he is still alive or dead, or if he has become rich and decided to abandon them. By this time, Leah had grown into a beautiful and intelligent girl and has learned how to cure different kinds of illness with local herbs from her mother. One morning, Leah's mother woke up and called her and told her not to go to the village river that day to swim, because it is the day of the New Yams festival, and the village will be filled with so many visitors and foreigners. But Leah, who already has plan of going to the river to swim, did not follow her mother's instruction, so she sneaked through the backyard and went to the river and began swimming. And as she was swimming and enjoying the coldness of the water, all of a sudden a hand pulled her from the back, and before she could turn to see who it was, something hit her head so hard and she passed out. The next time Leah would open her eyes, she was in a dungeon. That was when Leah realized that she has been kidnapped. And as soon as she stood up to sit properly, she saw a man sitting very calm and appeared so unkempt, with birds all over his face. So Leah, after observing him for a while, decided to speak to him, and she asked him, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And the man answered, "I used to work on the king's farm, but I became sick and too weak to walk. That is why the king's guard locked me here." And before Leah could ask more questions, the gate of the dungeon suddenly opened, and two men walked in and pulled Leah out to the king's presence, where she saw other girls who were also kidnapped and sold to the king for slavery. So as the king was examining the girls one after the other before getting to Leah's turn, Leah noticed something similar with the king and the man she met in the dungeon. She noticed their eyes were very red and was bringing out some yellowish fluid. As the king got to where she was, he asked her, "What is your name?" And Leah answered, "My name is Leah." And then she asked the king, "What is wrong with his eyes?" Surprised at how bold she was to ask such question, the king answered, "I have an incurable eye infection." Then she told the king, "It is not an incurable eye infection because I know the herbs that can cure the infection." And the king, who has been looking for herbs to cure his eye infection, pleaded with her to show him the herbs. And Leah saw this as an opportunity to free herself and the man she met in the dungeon from slavery. So she told the king, "Yes, I will show you the herbs, but on the condition that you will set me free and let me return to my village with the man in the dungeon." And the king, who desperately needed the cure for his eye infection, agreed to the deal. So he sent one of his guards to accompany Leah to the bush where she gathered some leaves and prepared the herbs for the king. The king drank the herbs, and in few days his eye infection was cured. This made the king very happy, and he kept to his own part of the deal by setting Leah and the man she met in the dungeon free, and even asked his guards to take them safely to Leah's village. On arriving at the village, Leah's mother, who has been crying and looking for her daughter, saw Leah and ran very fast to where she was and hugged her very tight. And as Leah's grandmother, who has been running behind her mother, got to where they are and saw the man Leah came back with, she screamed and said, "This is my son Ile." Hearing this, Leah's mother looked up and also screamed, "This is my husband." Leah was shocked, and she asked her mother, "Is this my father?" And her mother said, "Yes, this is your father, Ile. Where did you find him?" And Leah told them everything that had happened. So they took Ile home, gave him food, and prepared some herbs for him. And he recovered from all his sickness, and they all lived happily ever after.